Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper analysis from the perspective of UPSC examination. Today we have taken up important news and article from The Hindu and Indian Express newspaper dated 19th October 2023, New Delhi edition. Now, as you know, we have segregated our discussion into two parts. One would be related to the prelims discussion, that is DPP, and the other part is related to mains discussion. The topic for prelims discussions are listed here. So the first topic is inflation. Now, inflation as a key economic term is very important from the perspective of UPSC examination. And as you are following DNS and going through newspapers, you will find that Government of India or its agencies are bringing up data related to inflation, level of inflation, whether it is growing or it is falling on a regular basis. They are publishing it on a regular basis. So we have taken up some core concepts related to inflation and curated an MCQ to discuss those core concepts. The second topic is quantum computing, another important topic from the perspective of UPSC examination. As the scientific development or the news related to the field of science and technology are always important from the perspective of UPSC examination. Quantum computing is one of them. So there is an article which featured in the Hindu newspaper science section which talks about quantum algorithm. So we have picked the quantum computing and provided a comparison between classic computing and quantum computing. Thirdly, we have taken up a question based on minimum support price, that is MSP. All those who have gone through PYQs of UPSC examination, you might be aware of the fact that UPSC has already asked question based on minimum support price. So in order to cover the important concepts related to minimum support price, we have taken up this question. Further, there is a new venture, inaugural run for which is scheduled in coming days, and it is known as RapidX. Another name is RRTS. Now it is connecting to one important city of NCR, and I am not telling you the name because our MCQ is based on that city only. It is connecting that city to the city of New Delhi, and this project has a potential to create a domino effect where this strategy can be utilized further in future to decongest the mega cities by connecting them to their satellite town or suburbs. Further, there is a news related to referendum in Australia. And as you know, that referendum is a tool of direct democracy, and UPSC has been asking question based on important political concepts. So we have taken up a question based on important tools of direct democracy. And lastly, there is a location based, or you may say an important question based on important geophysical phenomena which has occurred in the Amazon, which is related to River Negro. So as UPSC of lately is being asking question based on important map locations, they are framing questions based on their locations or the features. So we have taken up this question for that purpose. For the mains perspective, as most of the newspaper was filled with Israel and Palestinian issue, and we have already covered all possible dimension related to that news. So there was another important news based on this left-wing extremism. Uh, there was two news in the Hindu and Indian Express newspaper where our Home Minister has suggested some measures for the youth to shun the Naxalism as an ideology or a practice. Okay. And further, there was another news that in collaboration with IIM, State of Jharkhand is going to launch a program for employment generation and skill training of the youth in Naxal affected area. So we have taken up this article and we will be covering the genesis, the causes of rise and spread of left-wing extremism. We will look into the government strategies, what it has been and what is it now, and we will end this discussion, that discussion by providing a brief way forward. Further, another important article which featured in the Hindu newspaper was related to artificial intelligence. Now, from your mains perspective, development in the field of science and technology is always important. So we have covered the aspects of artificial intelligence, like the challenges lies therein, and what should be done from the perspective of India. And that would be all for the today's discussion. So let's begin our discussion with the prelims portion. So as we discussed that the first discussion is based on this news which featured on page number 6 of the Hindu newspaper. Now, after a rally of around 15 months, first time a respite came in shape of inflation rate falling at by 5%. So since last 15 months, inflation rate was persistently high, gaining its peak in around June, which was around 7.44%. So author of the article is arguing that though this is a respite for the people, consumer, etc., but the volatile nature of the food and fuel prices may play a spoil sport in the inflation battle, the battle of the government to contain the rates of inflation. And if you will refer to UPSC previous year question, you will find that in 2022 itself, UPSC has asked a question based on inflation. Question says, which one of the following is responsible for maintaining price stability by controlling inflation? So try to attempt this question and let us know your answer in the comment box. We will move on to the practice MCQ. Now the practice MCQ focuses on two key concepts, that is core inflation and headline inflation. Question says, consider the following statements and you have to identify the correct ones. Now, the first statement says that core inflation refers to the inflation covering all categories of goods and services. Now, this statement is incorrect, as this statement is more related to headline inflation, which covers all categories of goods and services. The second statement says the headline inflation excludes the volatile categories to measure the increase in the prices of goods and services. Now, this statement is again incorrect, as this definition is more related to the core inflation, which excludes the volatile categories like food and fuel. So statements were interchanged. Okay. So whenever there is fall in price of food and fuel or rise in price of food and fuel, the headline inflation will fluctuate, but core inflation will largely remain unaffected. So as you had to find the correct statements, our answer would be D, that is neither one nor two. Answer for this PYQ is D, that is Reserve Bank of India. Now, as we discussed again, the Hindu newspaper, the science section of it, it has an article based on how quantum algorithms solve problems that classical computers cannot. Now, this article focuses more on the algorithm. So, we have picked up a basic question which is related to a comparison between quantum computer and the classical computer. And if you will refer to UPSC previous year questions, you will understand that how development in the field of science and technology, especially information technology and computing sector, is important from the perspective of examination. As in again 2022 itself, UPSC asked a question that which one of the following is the context in which the term qubit is mentioned, and you have given 4 options. Now try to attempt this question also and let us know your answer in the comment box. And meanwhile, we will be taking up the practice question. So the question says, consider the following statements regarding quantum computing. Statement 1 says quantum computing relies on the principles of classical mechanics for its operation. Now, this statement is incorrect because the quantum computing uses the principles of quantum mechanics, which is a subpart of physics, and it deals or defines the energy and matter in it defines the matter or energy on atomic and subatomic level. Fine. Second statement says quantum computers utilize qubits which can exist in multiple states at once, unlike classical bits that can exist only in a state of 0 or 1. Now, this statement is correct, and that is where lies the advantage of quantum computing, because it can exist in multiple states, kind of superimposition. It can use 0, it can use 1, and it can use both of them simultaneously. So simultaneous tasks are possible in quantum computers. The third statement says, which is related to the second statement itself, that quantum computing has the potential to significantly accelerate certain types of calculations compared to classical computers. Now, this ability to do simultaneous calculation is one of the factor which contributes in the faster operations of quantum computers. So again, this statement is correct. Yes, it is faster. So as you had to find the correct statement, that how many of the above are correct, answer would be B, that is only 2. Answer for this PYQ is B, that is quantum computing. Now the third question is inspired from this news which featured on page number 14 of the Hindu newspaper. Now center has raised the MSP for Rabi crops, and for wheat it is raised by rupees 150 per quintal, but several farmers are unhappy with this rise, because they are saying that this rise is not matching their input cost. So topic of MSP is important from the perspective of your UPSC examination. As you can see here, in 2018, UPSC had given following food crops and asked that the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has announced the MSP for which of the above. You had to identify the crops for which the MSP was announced. So try to attempt this question also. Meanwhile, we will take up the practice MCQ. Question says, consider the following statements regarding MSP. Question 1 says, it is announced based on the recommendations of the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Now, this statement is incorrect because answer lies in the PYQ itself, that it is the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs which recommends the MSP for various crops. Now, the second statement says the present method of fixing MSP includes the implied cost of family labor. And to take decision on this statement, you need to see the methodology. Now, there are three methodologies. First is A2 method, which includes expenditure on various inputs paid by farmers such as seeds, fertilizer, and pesticides, etc. So based on the input cost that farmer has incurred, this price is decided. Another method is A2 plus FL method. Now A2 is expenditure on various input like you did in the first method. Additionally, you also add implied cost of family labor. Now the third method, that is C2 method, is A2 plus FL, that is first two plus implied cost of rent of land plus all other implied cost. Now, this was suggested by MS Swaminathan Commission. But currently, government decides MSP based on the A2 plus FL method, which incorporates implied cost of family labor. So, the statement 2 is correct. Now, statement 3 says minimum support prices do not enjoy statutory recognition. Now, this statement is again correct because since the farmers' agitation, you might be aware of the fact that farmers were demanding that statutory recognition should be given to the MSP, and government was not ready to do that. So it does not enjoy it is not having the statutory backing, the MSP regime. So by virtue of this, there is no obligation on the government to purchase all the commodities for which MSP is declared. Even if MSP is declared, government is not bound to buy all the commodities. That is the first thing. Second, there is no obligation on the government to pay MSP to the farmer. That is also true because it does not have a statutory backing. Thirdly, there is no obligation on the private sector to purchase commodities at MSP. They can they can purchase it below or above the MSP. So statement 3 is also correct. So as you had to find how many of the statements are correct, our answer would be B, that is only 2. Answer for this PYQ is B, that is 2, 4, 5 and 6 only. Now this news featured on page number 4 of the Hindu newspaper. Infrastructure sector has been mentioned in your main syllabus also, and UPSC also asked question based on various infrastructural projects and linkages like inland water inland waterways or map location based on moving from one state to another. A question they asked based on national highway also. And considering the push that this government or present regime is giving to the infrastructural project, we have taken up this particular article just to give you the content regarding a recent development. Now again, uh, this is going to be launched. So there was a pre-inaugural run, and for which the author of this article has enumerated various amenities and sorry and facilities that this RapidX is providing. So as we talked that UPSC has been asking question in 2014, UPSC asked a question based on the match the following format. You were provided with the 3 national highways, sorry, and you had to find whether they are rightly matched with the cities connected or not. Now try to attempt this question. Uh, but meanwhile, we will take up the practice MCQ related to RapidX. Now, first statement says that it has higher operational speed than railways and metro for the entire stretch. Now, this statement is correct because as per the website, uh, RapidX will be having the highest maximum permissible operational speed of 160 for the entire stretch. Now, someone will say that Gatiman Express or Shatabdi Express has similar speed, but that is not for the entire stretch. It runs from Delhi, Nizamuddin or Delhi till Agra, nearby Agra. After that, it runs at around 130 kilometer per hour speed. But this particular mm, but this particular rail will be having the highest permissible speed of 160 for the entire 82-kilometer stretch. And one more thing, the inaugural run will be for 17-kilometer only because the rest of the part is not ready yet, operationally not ready yet. So this will connect Saibabad to Saibabad to Duhai Depot. So it is a 17-kilometer stretch for which inaugural run will be done, and for the entire 82-kilometer stretch, the MPS will be 160. So it is correct. Now the second statement says it is nation's first rapid regional transport system. It is again correct, and that is what we discussed, that it may give solution to decongest the mega cities. Thirdly, it says it can reduce air pollution in NCR region. Now this is also correct because it will give alternate option to the commuters. So there would be less private vehicles. So the congestion would be less, which will result into lesser number of traffic jam. Now lesser number of vehicles and lesser number of jam will result in lesser amount of emission of the cars or the vehicles which get stuck in these jams or which otherwise travel in this stretch. So yes, it will reduce air pollution. Fourth statement says it will connect Delhi to Bharatpur. Now this statement is correct. It is going to connect Delhi with Meerut in Uttar Pradesh. So as you had to find the how many statements are correct, our answer would be C, that is only 3. Answer for this PYQ is D, that is none. Now the next question is related to this news which featured on page number 8 of the Hindu newspaper. News is related to a referendum which happened in Australia, and it is related to issue of Aboriginal voice in Parliament. So the details regarding this referendum and issue of Australia is not that important from our perspective. And as you know, there are two forms of democracy, that is direct and indirect. So in India, we have opted for indirect form of democracy where we choose our representative who go to the lawmaking bodies like parliament or state legislature, and they act as our representative in governance issues. While in countries like Switzerland, there are true application and practice of direct democracy. So referendum is one of the tool that direct democracies use. So we have taken up a question based on the key terms like referendum, initiative, and plebiscite. And as we discussed that UPSC also asked question based on important political key terms, like in 2021, it has asked that which one of the following factors constitutes the best safeguard of liberty in a liberal democracy. So try to attempt this question and let us know your answer in the comment box. And by then we will be taking up the practice MCQ. Question says, with reference to the direct democracy, consider the following statements. Statement 1 says, referendum is a method of obtaining the opinion of people on an issue of public importance. Statement 2 says, initiative is a method by means of which the voters can remove a representative. Third statement says, plebiscite is a procedure whereby a legislation is referred to the electorate for settlement. Now try to answer this question through this discussion. Let us take the first two important terms and try to understand the difference between the two. The terms are referendum and plebiscite. Now technically speaking, plebiscite is a type of referendum. Then what is the difference? Now basic difference is whenever there is question, there is a constitutional question, referendum will take place. But when there is a question of secession, plebiscite will take place. Understand this with one example. Now, you might be aware of the term Brexit, where Britain conducted a referendum on whether to stay with EU or not. So here there was no issue of secession. It was just a constitutional provision. So referendum took place. Now, second example. Now let's say if Scotland decides to come out from United Kingdom. Now this amounts to secession. Then there will be a plebiscite. So the basic definition, that procedure whereby a proposed legislation is referred to the electorate, while the plebiscite is the method of obtaining the opinion of people on any issue of public importance and generally used to solve the territorial disputes. So this is clear. Now take up the two other key terms, that is initiative and recall. Now initiative is the method by means the people can propose a bill to the legislature for enactment. People will propose a bill. So this is initiative. They are taking the initiative. Now recall, as the name suggests, voters can remove a representative or an officer before the expiry of his term when he fails to discharge his duties properly. So now try to attempt this question, that referendum is a method of obtaining of public importance. No, this statement is more true or more aligned with the plebiscite, and so is the case with the statement of plebiscite, which is also incorrect. Initiative, the statement for initiative is more of a statement for recall or definition of recall. So this statement is also incorrect. So our answer would be none. That is, none of the statement are correct. Now answer for this PYQ is D, that is separation of power. Now this is the last topic of preliminary discussion, which was inspired from the news which featured on page number 11 of Indian Express newspaper. Now we will be discussing the important facts related to this news in our preface itself, but we have provided an MCQ just for the compilation of fact or data for your convenience. Fine. So this news is related to the Amazonian rainforest and the implication of recent global warming or impact of global warming events. So these rainforests are reeling under a severe drought. Now the river, that is Rio Negro, which is one of the world's largest river by discharge level, has fallen to record level of 13.59 meter. Now you can see the location of this river here, the river Negro. Now the level of river Negro has fallen to record levels, and now the governor has declared emergency, and in more than 50 towns. So this was all about this news. And if you want to refer previous year UPSC question, you can see in 2022 itself, and before that there was a question related to Aral Sea also. In 2022 itself, UPSC asked that which one of the following lake of West Africa has become dry and turned into a desert, for which answer was B, that is Lake Fagubang. And the practice question, now you know the answer. This is just for the compilation purpose. Answer would be B, that statement is about Rio Negro River. Fine. So that will be it for the daily prelims practice section. So now let's move on to the main section, where we will be taking up the article of left-wing extremism along with the a topic of artificial intelligence. Now, as I told you, there were multiple news in both the newspaper, that is Hindu and Indian Express, related to left-wing extremism. Now, in two newses, Home Minister has termed the left-wing extremism as they are against the India's developmental process. And in the second news, he asked the tribal youth for better future, um, kind of advised the tribal youths that for better future, shun the idea of Naxalism altogether. Simultaneously, there was a very good news that IIM has launched a program for the entrepreneurs in Maist hit area. Now you can use this as an example in your case studies in your ethics paper, and you can also quote this example while suggesting some future oriented strategies in your GS answer also. Now, taking cue from your GS paper 3 syllabus, the role of external state, non-state actors in creating challenges in internal security has been mentioned, and you might be aware of the fact that there are developed and proven facts that Naxalite forces or the forces behind Naxalism are being funded and provided with the arms and ammunition by external factors also, non-state actors also. And further, if you will move that challenges to internal security through communication, role, and etc., like money laundering, etc., has been mentioned. So, Naxalism, if you will look holistically, has component of all these challenges. So, Naxalism is not just an armed revolution or armed uprising against the state. Uh, Feeding the variables in execution of Naxalite activity encompasses all these factors also. So, it is very important from the perspective of UPSC examination, and you can easily see that UPSC is asking question in mains based on the left wing extremism. Fine. So, as in 2015 itself, it has asked a question that the persisting drives of government for development of large industries in backward areas have resulted in isolating the tribal population and the farmers who face multiple displacements. With, with Malkangiri and Naxalbari foci discuss the corrective strategies to needed to win the left-wing extremism doctrine affected citizens back into the mainstream of social and economic growth. So you have to, it has two part. The first part asks you to highlight what are the concern challenges with these developmental activities. And then you have to suggest a strategy to mitigate them. Fine. In 2018 also, UPSC asked that LWE, left-wing extremism, is showing a downward trend, but it still affects many parts of the country. Now, briefly explain the Government of India's approach to counter the challenges posed by LWE. Now, try to attempt these questions after this session because we will be covering all the aspect. So, let's begin our discussion. And in this discussion, we will be covering various aspects like genesis and what were and what are the affected areas. Then we will look into the causes, why it is still a problem. Then we will take up the steps taken, the recent steps. We will briefly discuss what has been the strategy till date. And we will also look into the funding and current status aspect of Naxalism. So to begin with, first question that one should ask, why the name Naxalism? So it all started in the year 1967 from the village of Naxalbari in the state of West Bengal, where farmers rose up against the landlords. Obviously, 20 years had been passed since India got independence, but the land reforms which were promised did not percolate to the farmers or cultivators of the Naxalbari area. So, with the help of the Communist Party of India and their proponents, the farmers of Naxalbari area stood up against the landlords, and the violence ensued, which brought the state machinery into the action, And with a 45-day operation of Operation Steeplechase, it was mostly contained. However, one thing continued. Ideological basis was the communism. Fine. So we will not go into details, but briefly understand that CPI itself got bifurcated on many occasions. There were groups who were of kind of supporter of the democratic means. They wanted to join the government. They want to do the constitutional things, constitutional practices, while the other faction was completely against it. Other faction always argued that there should be a revolutionary content in their approach. So there were multiple fractures, but things changed in and after year 1991 when LPG reform came. LPG reform came, and there were liberalization, and several mining licenses and industrial licenses were given in these areas also, the backward areas, and which resulted into rising disparity in such areas. Now, what happened? The very cause which started the the movement as Naxalbari movement again again came in. And in the year so there were, I told you, there were several splinter groups, fragmentation, ideological difference. But in 2004, a remarkable event happened. Two of the largest group, that is Maoist Communist Center, that is MCC, and People War Group, that is PWG, came together to form CPI Maoist. And their armed wing, which was named People Liberation Guerrilla Army. Now, the largest factions united, and a sudden rise or spike in the violent incidents were started. Agencies recorded sudden spike in violent incidents. Situation got so worse that in 2006, our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, termed Naxalism as the single largest threat to internal security. And further, moving further, experts termed that ramification of this violence is spreading from Tirupati in south to Pashupati in north, that is in Nepal. So this was the level of violence and incidents up till 2018. Around 18,000 people have lost their life in this conflict. 18,000. So this was the basic overview or evolution of Naxalite movement. Affected area, if you will take up the data, around 106 district in 10 states have been identified where Naxalites, these districts were used by Naxalite for their operations. Now these numbers are declining, their area is shrinking. You can see through this map that this entire area is termed as the red corridor. Now this map is of the year 2007. Now this map is here 2013, and lastly it is the latest map of 2018. Now see how they are shrinking. And yes, the government approach and strategies are to be, you may say that they should be credited with their effort, the security forces and all, they are shrinking. But in 2007, you can see spread of their influence. So that was the genesis, as well as their impact. Let's move on to the causes. Now, before moving on to the causes, I will quote one statement, and this statement is from the Maes document itself. The Naxals themselves have claimed that people are ears and eyes of the army of Naxals, and they have termed people as water and themselves as fish. So here two things are very clear, that mass support or the support of people is paramount to their existence. Fine. So the causes why Naxalism is still thriving, the answer lies in the problems with people, because they are disgruntled and that is why they are supporting them. Fine. So let us take the causes one by one, which are mostly related to the people residing in these areas. Now, first is the land related issues. Now, what happened? There was, as you know, the land ceiling laws were circumvented. There is no clear title record in these areas. Fine. Thirdly, there are some special laws like Kunti laws for Santhal area or Mundas, which again enables those with malicious intent to circumvent the land ceiling law. Further, as we discussed that title, now these land related issues that they are being thrown out of their traditional land is creating a sense of dissatisfaction. Second reason is, due to this this alienation or eviction from the land, there is a stressed displacement also. Now you don't have your land, you are displaced from your ancestral property or location. Now again there would be a crisis of livelihood altogether, because how your traditional work has been snatched away. What you have been practiced in centuries, you are trained for those works. Now it all has gone. So there would be livelihood issues again, because traditional work is gone. Now source of income is gone, your home is gone, and the land title is not there. Again, that relates to your home. Now you have moved to some other place. Now these displaced people who mostly belong to the tribal communities are at the lowest rung of the social strata. They still today face the problem of untouchability, and there is no protection for their rights, civil rights, humanitarian rights. They face double whammy. They are subjected to interrogation and other atrocities by police also. They always accuse police forces for such atrocities. Now this creates a kind of social exclusion, because again their rights as well as dignity is being ignored because of poor implementation of laws. Laws are always there, but their poor implementation is the issue. Now the last reason for them to for people to remain disgruntled is the poor governance. Now just ask yourself, you might have heard that some officers have been sent to Naxal area as a punishment posting. Now those who consider it as a punishment posting, how you expect them to work for the welfare of people or to work efficiently? The entire focus of those kind of, I'm not saying that all of them are like that, but most of them are busy in the reposting in civilian area or the peace areas where normal life is going on. So it affects the efficiency. And clubbed with the corruption in these areas, because if these areas are have difficult terrain and government cannot reach to deliver the service, it is also tough to monitor the officials there. So there are instances of rampant corruption, just not economically. There are instances of moral corruption also, which we talked in previous point, the atrocities that they accuse police force. So the governance structure is again creating a void, and these voids and these reasons clubbed together, they give they give a scope to the leaders or the Naxals to get into the play. They kind of exploit this disgruntlement of the people, and people find them more close to their cause because they give them money, they give them salary if they join them as a cadre, they give them security if they work as an informer. And there is another threat that if you are you they if the Naxals get to know that you are a police informant, then your you will be executed immediately. So the choice for most of the people is clear. Fine. Now this part is the support of the people. Now where do they get fund from? The Naxals. Now they have brought out a very interesting term, revolutionary tax. Revolutionary tax, and there is a proper structure. Who will pay what would be the rate, when one would pay. There is a cadre system, there is promotion, there is salary, everything is structured. So this revolutionary tax is nothing but kind of extortion against your security. So suppose you are a contractor, you got a contract of building a road in Naxal affected area. You will be contacted by Naxalite that if you want to execute the work completely, pay us say so and so amount and you will be safe. Now one who has invested his money in that contract, and obviously we all love our life, we are going to pay them this revolutionary tax. Okay, so it is kind of extortion. Now with the evolving police strategy and government action, Naxalites are also shifting towards other means of funding. They are getting involved into drug trafficking. In Jharkhand, they are involved in the trafficking and illegal supply and growing of opium. And in similar fashion, they are involved in the agriculture or the cultivation of cannabis. So these are the new dimensions through which Naxalites are getting their funds from. So they are actively involved in drug trafficking also. So as we discussed earlier that we saw in this map that they are shrinking. They are shrinking to an extent that the incidences of violence have seen a drop of around 75%. In 2008 or 7, it was around 2600 incidences of violence, while in 2020 only 665 incidences were recorded. Further, now as we discussed that they are operating from 106 districts. Now the number of districts that are still affected by the Naxalite activities have came down to 75. So these are some facts and data which shows that they are shrinking. More data, more important data from the perspective of examination has been provided in detail in the PDF, for which link has been provided in the description box and comment box also. Now, just recall the statement that people are ears and eyes of army. Army means Naxalism. The second part was they are water, we are fish. So where lies the solution? Either you will net the fish out, which was the strategy of government till date, using the might of force, military, police, and legal backup, and all other intelligence units. These were the strategies, but they they proved highly ineffective, or in some at some instances they even proved counter effective. They created more loss for the security forces or the governance apparatus. So the second solution lies in change the character of the water itself, so that it would be difficult for fish to survive in that water. And now the government is opting that strategy only, because now government is taking up multi-pronged strategy, which includes development, which includes protection of civil rights, protection of human rights, their concerns regarding their livelihood. Everything is being taken care of. So let's take them one by one. So first is there is a national policy and action plan which covers all the aspects. That is what we discussed just now: security, protection of rights, livelihood, every aspect. So center has developed this strategy. Now you know that law and order is a state subject, but center is acting as an coordinator or a facilitator for the state. So there are some specific steps like the amendment in UAPA, through which they have banned the CPIM, that is CPI Maoist. Further, they are helping in training and providing armaments for the fight against Naxalism. And you might have heard about the specialized force like Greyhound of Andhra Pradesh, and Cobra Battalion of CRPF. They are sending CAPFs, that is central forces, in these areas. So these are some specific measures that they have taken. Now, as we said, that life and livelihood related measures have also been taken. So there are several schemes like Pradhan Mantri Grameen Sadak Yojana, the National Rural Health Mission. Then there is ashram schools. And the most important is Narega. So these are some measures that government is taking proactively, and government is focusing on efficient implementation of these schemes so that they can penetrate deep inside the society, which feels that they are alienated, they are sidelined from the developmental stream of the country. So now they have taken up these steps. The efficient implementation of PESA, that is Panchayat Extension to Schedule Area Act of 1996, and Forest Right Act of 2006 is also being taken care of. Apart from this, government is also focusing on infrastructural push. Government is making roads in these areas. Government is providing corpus of fund for the civil duties to the CAPF, the central forces. They are providing a corpus of fund so that the central forces can execute civic related projects in Naxal affected area. It will help them to gain confidence of the local. Further, they are installing mobile towers to enhance the connectivity throughout. So these are the steps which are multi-pronged, multi-dimensional, and government is addressing each and every aspect of these areas. And that is why the shrink is so eminent, and that is why shrink is so fast. So what else we can do? We can do one thing that is very important from your understanding and writing your conclusion, that we need to understand that these people feel that they are being discriminated, they are alienated. So don't treat them as perpetrator of you may say that heinous crime or a crime against humanity. So whenever and there is a scheme that rehabilitation and surrender and rehabilitation, where government provides a good amount, that is 1.5 lakh to the lower cadres and 2.5 lakhs in fixed deposit to the um, people who belong to higher cadre of these Naxal forces. And this is a fixed deposit which they get after 3 years of maturity, and during which they are provided with the vocational training. So this is what we need to understand, that these people are just alienated and sidelined. So don't look at them as perpetrators of high treason or heinous crime or crime against humanity. Let them give a chance to get back into the mainstream, and the trend with which they are declining, yes, we can see a silver lining that this menace will end soon. So that's bring us to the second topic of today's discussion, which is related to artificial intelligence. Now, this topic featured on page number 6 of the Hindu newspaper, and one apart from discussing different aspect of AI and concerns related to use and application of AI, one important finding that author has mentioned here is related to recent Israel-Hamas conflict, where author has said that due to over reliance on AI, what Hamas used superbugs to conceal the information from Israeli intelligence agencies. And this blinded the intelligence agency, and Hamas was able to execute such a big terrorist attack on Israel. So author is saying that over dependence is again one of the concern that one should be care of regarding the uses of AI. Now, if you will take up your GS paper 3 syllabus, science and technology developments and their application and effects in everyday life is mentioned. AI is part of them, part of it. If you will see a prelims question in 2022, in 2020, it was based on artificial intelligence. Now try to attempt this question and let us know your answer in the comment box. Further, this particular topic is important from the perspective of ethics also, because the moral aspect of uses of AI can be asked any day in your ethics paper. And if you will refer to essay paper of 2019, there was a topic which featured that rise of artificial intelligence, the threat of jobless future or better job opportunities through reskilling and upskilling. Now, this may seem a monochromatic topic related to job sphere related to AI, but there are various dimensions to it. And the base of such discussion is always a basic debate of technology, which is related to technology, whether it is bane or boon. And answer lies in the intent of human application of the technology. If your intentions are malicious, it will be a bane. And if your intentions are ethical and correct, then it would be a boon. So that would again percolate, and that would help you to write essay topic on such topics which seem static and monochromatic, but you can diversify your arguments using this basic concept. And our today's discussion is also based on this basic debate only. So we'll be quickly covering the artificial intelligence, the why there is need for regulation, why there are challenges, what kind of challenges are there, And in way forward, we will be quickly looking into the suggestions, the, or the need of R. So first thing, what is artificial intelligence? Now, simple definition, that any machine, and especially computer system, which through algorithm and programs mimics human intellect. So human intellect is thinking and problem solving, and if any machine is capable of doing that, that would be termed as artificial intelligence. Now you might be aware of using chat GPTs these days for completing your projects or the assignments given in colleges. So chat GPT is nothing but a generative AI, where you give some input and it generates a new set of data and argument. Okay, so what you were supposed to do, what your elder sibling were doing uh, during their colleges, that they were putting their efforts reading book and finding points and listing points and discussing the answer. You just have to put some keyword in chat GPT and you will get an answer. So this is AI. It is replacing the human intellect of thinking and problem solving. So it mimics, kind of, it is not replacing, it mimics. Fine. So now, as I said, the debate is bane or boon. Now, if you are using the AI technology for good purpose, for ethical purpose, for the intent of social welfare, it is a good AI. But if you are using it for the malicious purpose or ulterior motives, it is a bad AI, and challenges lies therein. First is disinformation and manipulation, and second is data bias. We will be taking it together. Now, AI works on input. Now, if you are feeding wrong data, incorrect data, or you are programming it for ulterior motives, the outcome would be, you may say, in the shape of disinformation or incorrect information. And as a common person, you will not be able to differentiate whether it is actual, it is reality, or it is a fake thing. The best example you can give here is deep fakes, where a picture editing tool has been transformed into a morphing tool. Now, a morph photograph can, or a morph video can be sent to millions, and they cannot find the difference, that whether it is an original video or a fabricated video. Second point is data bias. Now, the first was the case, the intention is bad, and you tried something to create something malicious. Now, second condition is when there is a bias in the data itself. Now, understand this with an example. Now, Amazon was using in USA using an algorithm for 10-15 years for recruitment, but suddenly they realized that algorithm is favoring men over women. So when they inquired, they found that the input, the variable that the algorithm is calculating, is based on how many men gave job application and how many women gave the job application. Now the natural answer is the number of men who will apply for job will be more than the number of women. Now based on that feedback, it automatically, or it on its own, the algorithm decides to favor men over women. It decided that they are more interested or more suitable for the job just because their number were higher. Second example, in US hospitals, they used an algorithm where they tried to find that which patient requires more medical care. Now the machine, that AI, gave the answer that white people require more medical care. How? Because somehow the data was fed that white people spend more on healthcare than the black people. Now, for any patient, it started doing a racial discrimination. Without any logic, the machine started giving that white people, uh, that XYZ person is of white race, so he or she will be needing more medical care than the black one, just on the basis of that data. Now, that data was biased. Fine. So so they can create a situation of misinformation or confusion, which is based on purely incorrect or biased data. Thirdly, it lacks transparency. Transparency in what terms? Now they are so complicated that many a times developer themselves fail to explain the entire process, because so many variables are involved in their computation and bringing up the answer, that developer themselves are unable to explain the entire process. So what happens? There is opacity. You don't even know the process, you don't even know the variables, so how do you control or oversight that thing? Now these are related to some and another issue is loss of jobs. Again, this the replacement of human resource. This The AI will create job opportunity in tertiary and quaternary sector. The lower level of job like primary and secondary sectors will face a loss of job. Certainly, this is another challenge. So these are related to the AI technology itself. Now, another points that we have enlisted here are more related to the execution of AI. First is privacy violation. Now, this is such a sophisticated technology that it is very prone to be used for snooping, for surveillance, and with the person will not even know that he is being checked upon, he is being scrutinized. So it is kind of privacy, it can be used as a tool of a privacy violation further. Now again, the complicated and sophisticated tool. So using IT technologies, the cyber frauds like phishing, malware. Now suppose the ever evolving AI will create more such complicated malware and threats, and it will be a threat to national security, not only individual, and which is covered in the last point, that is technological rivalry, which says that in future the countries who have a better grip over AI technology may use the AI as a tool to counter their rivals through cybercrime and other hacks. Okay, now another issue is related to its application, that is autonomous weapon. Now just imagine you have just you if you can recall the bias and the incorrect data that has been fed. Now based on that data, you are giving a machine the discretion to decide a lethal decision to shoot, a lethal decision to kill. Now, how far this thing can be termed as moral? Because if your data is biased or inappropriate, you never know who the machine is going to shoot. Fine. Another, the accountability concern. Now, there is no legal responsibility or answerability of an AI machine or the work done by AI machine. Who will be responsible? So there has been no structure, proper statute or regulation that can define all these issues. So these are the challenges, and in challenges lies the solution. The first is, one must have, and particularly India must have, a comprehensive regulatory framework. Now, India, for its all IT related and technological IT and cyber related issues, rely on IT Act of 2000. Now, there is no specific data which is there in place to tackle the issues arising out of AI. So first and foremost important thing is need of comprehensive regulatory framework which covers all the stages from development till the uses. Fine. Second, that data is the new oil. So data is with the business people, those who are in business and doing business, collecting data, shopkeepers, and everyone who is in business. So we must train them to maintain, to adhere to the highest standard of privacy protection. They must not leak the data. They must be aware of the fact that leaking data would be detrimental to the health of the population. So they must be sensitized as well as they must be trained, okay, because they are one of the biggest stakeholder. Now, as you can recall that developer cannot this can explain the entire process. So we need to eliminate this black box approach, and we should make the entire process, we should make the mandatory provision to explain the entire process, that what are the variables, what is the algorithm, how did you reach to this conclusion, how did the machine reach to this result. So this should be, the black box approach should be removed permanently, and everything should be out in open. Second, now there are issues of ramification. There are instances where AI has created problem in future course of its application. So another suggestion is controlled research and development environment, where a sandbox approach is required, where scientists are provided with a controlled atmosphere where they can test the limit of the application of that particular AI algorithm. They can judge upon that what are the spheres where this AI technology can be used or misused. So they should be provided a controlled R&D facilities where they can check the limits of such applications. Now, when there is a regulation, then yes, there should be an oversight body to kind of look after every aspect, kind of interagency cooperation, etc. Thirdly, now the sphere of internet and cyberspace knows no boundary. It is an international phenomena. So there is a need of common international regulation framework where entire community should come together to lay down some basic rules and regulation. Like EU brought the regulation regarding this AI. Okay, so EU brought the regulation, not AI, but the data protection regulation regarding the data protection. So such a regulation should be brought to contain the ill effects of AI, and the entire world community should come together to bring such common minimum program. Fine. And lastly, the issue of loss of jobs can only be contained through reskilling and upskilling, as was the topic in 2019 essay paper. You need to upskill your manpower, because similar were the concern when 1991 the IT revolution came. People were worried about losing job and losing their livelihood, but that did not happen. Those who upskilled are in a better position. They get a better quality of job. They received a better paycheck. Fine. So AI has the similar potential only if you are reskilling and upskilling. So that's all for the today's discussion. Stay tuned for more such updates.